Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Corrigan-Buchan, and I am the Community Engagement Director here at the Mount Prospect Public Library. The library is pleased to partner with the League of Women Voters to bring you tonight's forum featuring candidates in the race for School District 57's Board of Education. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to the League of Women Voters.
Hello and welcome to the candidate forum put on by the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights. My name is Rosemary Heckard and I am from the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, and Buffalo Grove. I am also a member of our Emerging Leaders program. Founded in 1920 as an outgrowth of the movement giving women the right to vote, the League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or political parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote civic responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. We are so happy to provide this service for the community. All of the candidates here in this forum were contacted by email and/or phone prior to today. The candidates have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. The rules will be summarized by our moderator. This program is being recorded. Those watching are muted and are not visible to the candidates. We have some questions prepared, but we encourage the audience to ask questions that relate to your concerns and thoughts about elementary education in School District 57. Questions will be reviewed by League members to avoid duplication and for clarity and appropriateness, and to try to ensure that they are not directed to any one candidate, but can be answered by all of the candidates. To send in questions for the candidates, please text 847-701-4701. Again, that's 847-701-4701, or email forum.lwvah@gmail.com. Before we get started, we have offered Mount Prospect Village Board Trustee candidate Zacatelli 3 minutes to tell you her platform. The other Village Board Trustee candidates did not agree to participate in a candidate forum for the village trustee seats, so it was canceled. Only candidate Zacatelli agreed, and here is her 3-minute presentation of her platform. I'm going to pull it up. All right.
My name is Colleen Zacatelli, and I'm seeking re-election to the Village Board. Thank you to the League for this time. I've recently been endorsed by the Daily Herald, and they describe me as being a moderate and measured voice on the board for the past 8 years. I believe I'm an asset to the board because I come prepared for meetings, ask pertinent questions, and listen to all sides of an issue. I carefully consider resident comments, staff recommendations, and expert reports. I vote based upon what I believe is the best for the entire community. Let me lay out some of what I'm committed to as a trustee. Long-term financial stewardship. I voted for a 0% tax levy increase multiple times. I also diligently review village bills. My government procurement background enables me to review purchasing documents with a keen eye. When the village makes smart financial planning choices, our residents receive the benefits. For instance, I supported the suspension of the vehicle sticker program this year. I hope we can make this suspension permanent going forward. Public safety. I have supported fully funding our police and fire services by voting for their staffing increases, training, and equipment needs. I advocated for a new police headquarters so that our department would have the resources it needed to address crime in the 21st century. I supported a new fire department headquarters to improve response times to our residents. Finally, I participated in Fire Ops and Citizens Police Academy to gain further understanding of what our first responders experience on the job. Village-wide economic development. Increased business revenue means less reliance on tax revenue from our residents. Development tools I've supported are downtown TIF, Southside TIF, facade grants, and website improvement grants. A potential Bears Stadium move gives the village an opportunity to market itself as a destination for dining, hotels, and shopping. I will support efforts to make sure Mount Prospect is ready for the opportunities the Bears Stadium will bring. Sustainability. I've supported flood control projects like Levy 37. Other initiatives I've supported are backup village water supply and solar panel initiatives. When I was first elected, I pushed for the village board meeting packets to be electronic, and that change not only saved paper, but staff time and money. I also support the expansion of our bike network, as well as shared use paths in completing incomplete sidewalks networks. Adaptive outreach and citizen engagement. I think that many people may not fully understand the roles that our village government plays. I advocated for the creation of a civics academy to teach our residents about the different village departments as well as our boards and commissions. The first academy took place this year. I hope I have your vote. Go to sacatelli.com to learn more about my campaign. We know how important local elections are and how much they impact our life. Don't let someone else make your choice for you. Make a plan to vote and remind your neighbors about our local elections. Early voting starts March 20th at Village Hall and Election Day is April 4th. Thank you.
All right. So our moderator for today's event is Gilda Carew, who is a longtime member and a past president of the League of Women Voters of the Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove area. She does not live in District 57. We are now going to start our candidate forum. We ask that you bear with us and please note that technology, it is what it is, and we are all working our best to ensure that this runs as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Rosemary. And with me on screen, we have our candidates, Corinne Bennett-Kill, Kimberly Fay, Charmaine Grippo, and Christopher Leto, our American Sign Language interpreter, Stacy Shine Stapleton, and our timer, league member Nancy Jones, but she will be behind the clock, so you're not going to see her herself. I'd like to note that the questions and answers and chat functions have been disabled for all attendees. So if you would like to submit a question for the candidates, please text this number, 847-701-4701. Again, 847-701-4701, or email forum, that's FORUM, .LWV-AH@gmail.com. Now, the candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth for this forum. The rules of the forum are as follows. The speaking order has been randomly determined. The candidates will alternate speaking orders, so a different candidate speaks first when answering questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their introductions. Then each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions, and all questions will be answered by all candidates. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The candidates will see the time counting down and will be given a 15-second warning. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. Candidates, please pay attention to the timer. When you see stop, you may finish your sentence, but we do ask you to stop. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another. I'll repeat a question if asked, and candidates are asked to speak to the audience. The 4 candidates are running to fill 3 seats for 4-year terms on the 7-member District 57 school board. School board members do not receive a salary. District 57 serves over 2,000 students, ranging from pre-kindergarten to 8th grade in 4 buildings. Early voting begins on March 20th, and election day is on Tuesday, April 4th. Please plan to vote and encourage your friends and neighbors to do so. Since school policies and the school budget come from the school board, and this is very important. So again, we ask you to pay attention. You can vote for 3 of these candidates, so be thinking about that as you listen to their responses to questions and to their opening and closing statements. Christopher Leto was drawn first to give the first opening statement, so I'll turn it over to him. Candidate Leto, you have 1 minute. I mean, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you. It's great to be here tonight. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Mount Prospect Public Library for hosting this forum. And I want to thank all of you who are giving up your busy Tuesday nights for joining virtually and for submitting your thoughtful questions. My name is Chris Leto. I was appointed to the District 57 School Board almost exactly 1 year ago. Time flies. My wife Jillian and I have 2 daughters in the district, a 3rd grader at Fairview and a 1st grader at Westbrook. We actually have a 3rd daughter on the way, due next month, a future D57 student. I believe, as I'm sure you all do, that District 57 is truly one of the crown jewels of our community. And I was fortunate to learn this at a very early age. I grew up in Mount Prospect and I attended District 57 schools. At the risk of dating myself somewhat, I attended Westbrook back when it was a K-5 school, and then moved on to Lincoln and then to Prospect High School. I know firsthand the great impact that the quality education that we receive in District 57 can have. It provided an outstanding foundation for me and provided a great foundation for my future academic and professional success. After leaving Prospect, I received an electrical engineering degree from the University of Illinois and later an MBA from Northwestern University. Through my academic studies, career, and life experiences, I developed passions for leading and collaborating with others, to developing bold visions and seeing those visions come to fruition, to solving big, complex, challenging problems that make a positive impact on others. It was my desire to leverage these passions that led me to seek a seat on the District 57 School Board in the first place, to give back to the district and the community that's given so much to me. Looking forward, we have some big challenges and strategic decisions to make, and I look forward to working to solve them in a manner that ensures that all the children of Mount Prospect receive the same great foundational education that I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second opening statement will be from Kimberly Fay. Candidate Fay, you have 2 minutes. You're muted.
Naturally. That's how all of these things start. Good evening once again. Many thanks to the League of Women Voters and to the Mount Prospect Public Library for organizing this event. And thank you to everyone who's watching tonight. My name is Kimberly Fay, and I've served on the school board since 2019. I've lived in Mount Prospect for the past 10 years. I have 2 daughters, a 7th grader at Lincoln and a 3rd grader at Lyons Park. I was motivated to run for a seat on the school board in 2019, shortly after the referendum was passed. I was proud of how our community came together to invest in our schools and our students. I wanted to do my part to make sure that investment was managed wisely. Since then, District 57 has faced many other challenges besides just managing money. In the past 4 years, our district has navigated offering quality education while promoting safety during a global pandemic. We've hired a new superintendent who is leading initiatives that will shape the future of our district. We've negotiated a new contract for our teachers that strives to more accurately reflect the value they bring to our community. With the pandemic now mostly behind us, District 57 is poised to focus our attention on the future. With initiatives such as Portrait of a D57 Graduate, we are thinking through the character traits and skills we want to build in students who come through our doors. With the work of the district's administration, with the equity audit and the strategic plan, we're thinking through how our schools can best serve all of our students. These efforts and many others still on the horizon are exciting opportunities to make our schools the very best they can be and to enhance the community as a whole. It has been my privilege and pleasure to serve on the school board these past 4 years, and I very much want to continue to be a part of that important work. I humbly ask for your vote on April 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next opening statement will be from Corinne Bennett-Kill. Candidate Bennett-Kill, you have 2 minutes and unmute.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Corinne Bennett-Kill, and I'm seeking election to a 4-year term as a member of the District 57 Board of Education. I'd like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters and the Mount Prospect Public Library for the opportunity to speak to you today, and of course, our fearless moderator for keeping us all online. I count it as a great distinction to participate in this forum with my fellow candidates, and I look forward to sharing my views on the issues important to this community. I've had the privilege of serving the District 57 community as a school board member for the past 2 years. Since my appointment in July 2021, I've had the singular honor to help guide our school community through some truly remarkable times. The difficulties of our community faced deep in the pandemic have evolved into a new set of challenges. How do we more effectively prepare our students to be successful in high school and beyond? How will continuing to responsibly steward this community's financial resources interact with the changing facility and programming needs of our district? My broad professional background, from data analysis and facilities management to large organizational budgets and communication across complex organizations, prepared me well to meet the challenges of membership in this vital community asset. During my tenure, I've represented the school board in the successful negotiation of the 2022 teacher contract. I am presently representing the board on the district working group tasked with creating District 57's new 5-year strategic plan. I'm also proud to say that during my time on the board, we initiated the district-wide equity audit, the results of which are eagerly anticipated in June. Each of these items are evidence of the tailwind of compassion and love of community that propels District 57 forward. It is my most sincere desire to continue the important work already in progress in our district.
Thank you very much. And our last opening statement will be from Charmaine Grippo. Candidate Grippo, unmute, and you've got 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, League of Women Voters, for organizing this for us and for the library staff too. I'm new at this, and I have the time, I have the energy, and I just went walking to put little post-it notes, sticky notes to remind the voters, of course, to vote for me, but also to know the date. And I didn't realize that was March 20th was an early voting time. So, but anyway, when given the opportunity to serve our community, and I feel it's a great privilege to be able to do that and to give back. It's important, and that's what our country is about. So I will bring creativity as a skill and just a practical mindset, a cost-effective thinking, and I want it to be just fiscally responsible to our community, to our stakeholders, but in the foremost to our children, that they get the foundational basics. Reading, writing, spelling is important too. Science, history, math, did I say it all? I don't know, but these are all very important facets that if you don't have those basics, you're not going to be able to do well in high school, college, or beyond. I do like to see how people think and respond to certain things. I meet people at Mariano's or wherever. I talk to a lovely lady, Zana is her name. She was a substitute teacher for Lincoln, and she shared some of her views on teaching as a substitute there, which I found very interesting. I also think that, well, let's just say, I believe supporting teachers is very important. I can't see the timer on my screen, so I apologize.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now start start with the questions. Candidates again are reminded you will have up to 1 minute to answer each question. And the first question is from our audience, and it will be answered first by Kimberly Fay. And the question is, what are your thoughts on state tax credits or vouchers for use by families to send children to private schools? Kimberly Fay, you have 1 minute.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
What are your thoughts on state tax credits or vouchers for use by families to send children to private schools?
Well, I'll start by admitting that I'm not intimately familiar with the terms of that type of arrangement. But I will say, as an advocate of public education, that the funds that residents of a particular community put in to fund the public schools should be used for the sake of the students that are in that community. I know in District 57, for example, we're in a unique position in terms of the way that our schools are funded, given that our district is primarily residential. So that puts a unique burden on the residents here. And I understand that there might be reasons for wanting to seek alternatives, but to me, the best course of action is to really invest in the schools that are in our community, because that's where we'll get the most return on our investment.
Thank you. Corinne Bennett-Kill, the same question, and you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm in a similar position as Kimberly, as I'm not intimately related or connected with the intricacies behind school vouchers and what have you. But I can say that when it comes to the use of public funds for public schools, taking any of those monies away and putting them towards another organization is only going to weaken our public schools. And one of the most important underlying factor to a community's property tax values is the quality of their schools. And I would hesitate to do anything or support anything that would take that away from our community.
Thank you. Charmaine Grippo, same question.
Well, I think the choices are good to have because it's creates competition and then betters the schooling, the public schools for District 57. I know our numbers are like 50 to 51% ranking. Aurora is really rank is very, very high. I was quite surprised at looking at the Illinois report card.com. So that was kind of interesting. I think that numbers need to go up. Competition is good. Our taxes, I think, would remain the same. Property taxes, that is. And but I'm not sure how that would play out with the tax credit, state vouchers. I'd have to find out more information about that for sure. But yeah, I think competition is good.
Thank you. And finally, Christopher Leto, same question.
Thank you. Well, I think that great communities are really made by great public schools. It's the reason that I'm dating myself again, that my parents moved my brother and I to Mount Prospect back in 1988 because of the great public school system we have. We live in a district that the residents are already bearing the overwhelming brunt of funding our schools. Of an operating budget of $33 million, 91% of that is coming from property taxes, from local property taxes. And you can figure out that only 9% of that is coming from state and federal sources, only 6% from the state of Illinois. I would really love to see the state of Illinois chip in more to fund our great public schools and to keep our great communities vibrant that have public school districts in, like Mount Prospect and District 57. So I would not be in favor of that. I would love to see collectively the state decide to better fund our public schools and keep our communities vibrant and our property taxes or our property values high. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question will be answered first by Corinne Bennett-Kill. And the question is, what is the role of schools in gun violence prevention? Candidate Kill, unmute, and you've got 1 minute.
Can you repeat the question one time, please?
Yes. What is the role of schools in gun violence prevention?
Great question. And I think the important word for me in that is prevention. We do everything that we can to keep our schools safe, the physical plants themselves safe, and make them safe places for our children. But when it comes to prevention, I think the most effective means that we have is creating a school environment or a community that fully embraces all of our students, to create a sense of belonging for all of our students, so that there isn't anybody sitting on the edges that we have somehow missed, that we are encouraging our children through our social emotional learning curriculum to be aware of themselves, to keep eyes on each other in a really positive way, and to be able to process their feelings in a way that isn't destructive. And I think that's a very, very powerful position to be in.
Thank you. Same question, Charmaine Grippo. You have 1 minute.
Yes, well, the role of the school would be just, I would say, to keep guns from coming into the building. I mean, when you hear a 6-year-old having a gun and taking it into with his backpack into the school and doing a horrific thing, that it really is shocking to me that this is happening in our day and age, for sure. I think that maybe having a police officer there wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't know how else you could prevent guns from coming into the schools. If that's what you're referring to, I would be I'd be for a police officer being available there.
Thank you. Christopher Leto.
Thank you, and a
Thank you.
great question. And I would say just, safety obviously is the and always will be the #1 priority of our district. It's awful. My brother is a teacher, and knowing what teachers have to go through, as if the job wasn't hard enough, having to deal with potential gun violence is an awful thing. I'm proud of the great relationships we have with our police department in Mount Prospect that are working with us to help keep our schools safe. I'm proud of the fact that the board this year earmarked over $500,000 to help harden our schools and make them safer. But I do agree with Corinne that, in the name of prevention, our district is really only meeting our mission if every single student feels welcome and belonging and a part of the community. And I'm proud of the fact that we are continuing to implement social and emotional learning programs that are going to help make sure that all students feel valued and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final answer is from Kimberly Fay. You've got 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, I would echo what Corinne and Chris already shared regarding the importance of belonging. I think we've seen from many of the tragic mass shooting events that our communities have experienced over the past several years, one of the common denominators in those situations has been children, students, young people who are isolated, who don't feel like they fit in any particular niche in their communities. So to the degree that our schools can foster that sense of belonging, I think that's really important. I would also add to that the schools have an opportunity to help educate parents as well, and to help parents be on guard for maybe problematic behaviors in their students, or changes in social dynamics, or changes in cultural factors that might make for an indicator that a student would be at risk for causing violence.
Thank you. Our third question will be answered first by Charmaine Grippo. And the question is, what are your thoughts on restricting books or curriculum in District 57 schools? Charmaine Grippo.
Well, the restricting of books, if it's appropriate for the age, K through or pre-K through 8th grade, I don't see why you would restrict a book, for a child, unless it was inappropriate for that age group.
Okay, thank you. Christopher Leto, same question.
Well, I think first and foremost, as a district, we are not and cannot be for censorship. That needs to be a core value of ours. I believe we should empower our very skilled academic and librarian staff that we have in our district to identify what age-appropriate material is. I can tell you from my own academic experience that real learning often occurs from being exposed to sometimes difficult topics. And that's how we grow as learners. And that's, one of our core missions as a district and as a school board. We absolutely need to be supporting that. That said, I totally understand that there may be parents who might, make a personal choice to say this may not be right for my child. And we need to respect that. We absolutely need to respect those individual decisions, but we cannot allow that an individual decision and an individual choice to make that decision for all of the students in the entire district.
Thank you. Kimberly Fay, same question.
I would echo some of what Chris said in the sense that as a public school district, we are offering a service to the public. And we have to be mindful of the wide array of views that the public holds. I think that the idea of restricting materials really comes down to, again, that educating parents component. I think it comes from building increased transparency between the school district and the parents who are ultimately responsible for what their children view. I think it comes down to making parents aware of what materials are available, letting parents have a voice in what materials their students check out from the library. It comes from a place of increased partnership, I think, between the parents and the schools.
Thank you. And the final answer is from Corinne Bennett-Kill.
Thank you. This has been a topic of a lot of interest of mine. I do not believe that particular books and curriculum should be restricted based on anything other than the appropriateness by trained librarians and the curriculum review process that happens for all of our curriculum in District 57 on a rotating cycle. The people that we hire to fill these positions are professionals and have a education pointed directly to finding educational appropriate materials for the children to help increase their learning. I would also say that one of the parent education portions that Kimberly mentioned is that we do have all of these resources available on our website and in our student manual. Access to our curriculums is already available.
Thank you. Our fourth question will be answered first by Christopher Leto. And the question is, what action would you recommend to encourage the inclusion of female students and underrepresented groups in challenging STEM classes or activities? Christopher Leto, you've got 1 minute.
Well, and again, we are only meeting our mission as a district if every student is feeling that they are given an equal opportunity to all of the the various educational, athletic, social opportunities that every student has. And I think as a district, we need to make the best use of the resources we have and potentially look at where are we potentially underserving a particular group or a particular interest, and try to get creative about making sure that we're offering that. We have such a passionate group of educators and staff in our district. We're extremely lucky for that. I know that we have a group of teachers and staff that would be more than willing and capable of offering different programs that were potentially targeted to a group that isn't receiving that particular service or type of education right now. And so I think we should be creative. We should identify where those needs are and where those gaps are, and then figure out how we can best fill them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly Fay, same question. You've got 1 minute.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What action would you recommend to encourage the inclusion of female students and underrepresented groups in challenging STEM classes or activities?
Okay, thank you. I would question the assertion that they are excluded currently. I don't have any specific information. I know kind of anecdotally, it's often assumed that women are not equally represented in science fields and those types of careers. But in the school setting, I don't have any reason to believe that there's any exclusion of women in the science fields. In fact, I'm thinking of Mrs. Strazik, to shout her out, who's the project Lead the Way teacher at Lincoln Middle School, who is a woman and who is leading that program, has spearheaded that program for our district for a number of years and does an amazing job with that curriculum. I know I certainly have enjoyed my interactions with her. I see her as a leader, and I would like to think many other students, male and female, see her in that capacity too.
Thank you. The same question now goes to Corinne Bennett-Gill.
Thank you. One of the first things I thought of was the equity audit that is currently in process in our district. And the reason that came to mind is that one of the first things that you need to know before trying to address an issue like underrepresentation of women and underrepresented groups in STEM is whether our district is in fact doing that. And the equity audit is pointed directly at finding those kinds of pieces of information, those gaps in our coverage of opportunity for all of our students and their diversity. So that would be the starting point. From that, we can then address those issues, those holes, those gaps, those places where we are not connecting people with materials, children with materials that will encourage them to explore and to look into new areas of life.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is from Charmaine Grippo.
Most assuredly, equal opportunity for everybody. If they are looking to go into the classroom and do these things or whatever the activity is, they should definitely be given the opportunity. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move to question number 5 that will be answered first by candidate Kimberly Fay. And the question is, what are your thoughts on full day kindergarten for school district 57?
That is a very key question, and one that I recall was a part of the election 4 years ago when I ran for the first time. It's unfortunate that it's still a topic of conversation, that we haven't, as a district, been able to make any moves towards implementing that. As a full-time working parent myself, and as a parent who has had at least one of my children go through kindergarten in District 57, I am acutely aware of the challenges of the half-day program that we offer. The challenges are compounded by the limited space that's at Westbrook currently. There are ways to make a full-day program happen, but it would take an investment from the community. It would take the community coming together to express a cohesive desire that is in fact what the community wants and not just what the board wants. I think the community will is there, but we need to have more detailed conversations about the how.
Thank you. Corinne Bennett-Gill, same question.
Yes, this is a topic of much discussion amongst the community. The full day kindergarten, I think, has stopped being a would like to and has begun a need to. We are rapidly becoming one of the last districts in our area that does not offer full day kindergarten. So that's having us being put behind some of our peer districts. That again impacts the desirability of our community to be a place where parents decide to raise their children, and thus the desirability of our community as a whole. So if you're going to get down to brass taxes, property values are going to be affected by the quality of the programs and the facilities that we offer in our community. It is a huge question and open to many different ideas as to how we're going to get there, but I think there is a great consensus that is in fact something that we need to do.
Thank you. And Charmaine Grippo, same question, 1 minute.
Yes, I'm very for full day kindergarten because parents are having to work full time just to make a go, especially with these taxes here in Mount Prospect. I've had several people mention this, that this is a very important thing. So why it hasn't been done, I'm not quite sure, but I would utilize buildings that already are empty and available. And there are many in Mount Prospect in close proximity.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is from Christopher Leto.
And this is obviously a very important topic, and I absolutely am in favor of us offering full-day kindergarten. You know, this is one of the complex problems that I've solved in my career and worked to solve in my career, and this is a perfect example of where, you know, building collaboration and consensus to solve a complex problem. I think this is something we should roll up our sleeves and get into. Corinne alluded to it, but District 25 passed a referendum this summer that's enabling full-day kindergarten there. District 23 has a referendum on their ballot this spring, and if they pass that, we will be the only district in our area not to offer this. There's a National Education Association policy brief which talks about the benefits of full-day kindergarten, not only academic, but social, emotional benefits. And these benefits extend not just in kindergarten, but throughout their academic careers. We don't think about this a lot, but we are in competition with other communities for people and residents wanting to move here. We need to continue making District 57 a reason why people move here and keep it a competitive advantage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll now move to question number 6, and it will be answered first by Corinne Bennett-Kill. The question is, how do you want to see the Lincoln School renovations proceed? Would you support a new building to address overcrowding? Corinne Bennett-Kill, you've got 1 minute.
Certainly. I think that ties right in with the previous question. I don't think we solve full-day kindergarten without solving the Lincoln facility issue. The building itself was built in 1950. It has lasted a long time, but just like a 10-year-old car, at some point in time, you have to talk about replacing it rather than just repairing it. And that's where we are right now. It just doesn't meet the educational needs of our students today. It doesn't prepare them well for Prospect High School. The fact that our children receive such a fantastic education coming out of Lincoln Middle School is a testament simply to the teachers, the staff, the parents and families of this community. Lincoln does not match that level of excellence. And one of the ideas that has been put out has been the idea of shifting grades around a bit so that Westbrook can be fully pre-K and kindergarten and host full-day kindergarten, and then move the other grades up into a new Lincoln.
Thank you. Charmaine Grippo, same question.
Well, I'm really not for rebuilding a new Lincoln. I was in the school twice already. I think the building is solid. I think it's substantial enough. It seems to be more of the teachers maybe wanting it, the students not so much. I've talked to several students actually. It's never on their radar. I ask, do you think it's overcrowded? They say no. So it's an adult's perspective for sure. I would be against it because I think it's just going to add more to our taxes. And there are plenty of buildings that are in the city that are beautiful. The Chicago Library is a beautiful place to go. Many old buildings. They're built sometimes even more solid than our newer structures. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Leto, same question.
Well, I am a proud graduate of Lincoln. I have my Lincoln red on tonight, in fact, and I say this a lot, but Lincoln looks almost exactly the same as it did 30 years ago, dating myself again, when I graduated from there. And learning modalities have changed in the last 30 years. Collaborative learning is really important now, and there are studies that show that. And Lincoln is not equipped to be able to keep up with those changing modalities. The hallways are crowded. The number of students there is about 40% larger than when I was a student there. It's going to cost us $10 million over the next 5 years just to keep Lincoln in workable condition. That doesn't mean making improvements to it. It doesn't mean allowing us to add those new modalities. It's simply to keep the building up and running. As stewards of the community and stewards of the school district, we owe it to our kids to do better. We owe it to ourselves and our property values to do better. And I firmly believe that a new Lincoln is really the only way to go to make sure that, again, we're keeping Mount Prospect as a community that people want to move to and stay.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is from Kimberly Fay.
I believe the question was whether any of us candidates support a new Lincoln, building a new Lincoln. And I would say I am in favor of building a new Lincoln. I am in favor of renovating the current Lincoln. I am ultimately in favor of whatever solution to the challenges that a 1950 construction building brings to the type of education that we're trying to offer in our district. Ultimately, it's not as much about what I want, even as a candidate for the school board. It's really about what the community wants. And I think the role of the board in the questions about Lincoln and the questions about full-day kindergarten is really to educate and to bring information so that the community can make the decision. We've started to have these conversations. We started to have a conversation just before the pandemic specific to Lincoln. And I think it's time to really put some numbers and start filling in the sketch that we've created to solve this problem.
Thank you. Our next question, question number 7, will be answered first by Charmaine Grippo. And the question is, it's been 5 years since the 2018 referendum to increase taxes. Do you stand by the commitment to not have another referendum until 2028? If not, why not? Charmaine Grippo.
Well, if I knew what the referendum was for, I could make a better decision and be able to ask the community, because I'm about going out, reaching out and talking to people in the community to find out what's going on, and not just for the school's sake, you know, like if your kids are already going to school, some of these kids are going to be already out by the, you know, in 5 years before the building would even get started. And there's a lot of fluctuations with new people moving in. Like my block, there were so many little kids. Now those little kids, most of them are in high school and they're Lincoln students, and they're going to be moving on up into the high school and then college. So there's always this change in the community. There's an ebb and flow. And I think that it's not necessary. From what I could tell by walking through the building, I think that everybody should have the opportunity to walk through the building to see whether or not it needs to be rebuilt.
Thank you. Christopher Leto, same question.
Well, this is obviously a hugely complex topic. I mean, nobody likes taxes. Certainly no one does. I like to think of taxes as an investment in this case, right? And they're an investment in our children, which is a crucial one. I firmly believe that great schools make for great communities. And that's what we've always been lucky to have here in Mount Prospect in District 57. Our district in particular faces some pretty significant headwinds. I mean, we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are 91% locally funded by property taxes. And we don't have the benefit, like some of our surrounding districts do, of having a lot of commercial areas. We don't have Randhurst. We don't have the area south of Gulf Road. What little commercial area we have is comprised largely by a TIF district. So I think this is a difficult one. I think it's great that we are in the process of planning for the future now. And it will take us 5 years or so to figure out great plans of what we want to do, so that by the time we do potentially need to go out to referendum, we've done that strategic planning and have come up with a plan that the whole community will support.
Thank you. Kimberly Fay, same question.
I agree with much of what Chris had shared. And as I had mentioned previously, the burden on the taxpayers of District 57 is unique as compared to other surrounding districts that have more commercial tax money coming in. Regarding the timing of the referendum, I agree. I think if we were to seek a future referendum, it might very well play out that we wouldn't be ready for another 5 years. So just by circumstances, it may play out that we would meet the initial sort of promise that was made to the community. I do, and I would like to verify, I don't have this information available, but the type of referendum we would seek for a Lincoln or even for a full-day kindergarten would be different from the type that was sought in 2018. And it's not clear to me whether that would necessarily make a difference in terms of the timing of the request.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is from Corinne Bennett-Kill.
Great question. I appreciate it being brought up. The previous referendum was really about bringing our operating budget up to bringing us up into the black. That was to keep arts in our schools, music, the arts, any of those fine arts that we want for enrichment for our children. It was just to keep those in place. And also to take care of some deferred maintenance on some of the other buildings, which we have seen through Lions Park and Fairview, those additions and remodels and different large pieces of capital work. But a referendum for a new building or for full day kindergarten, as Kimberly said, would be a different situation, a different type of referendum. So we're not asking for your taxes to go up for absolutely everything, but it is necessary that we as a district support the needs of the community as a whole.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Christopher Leto. And the question is, following COVID, what are your thoughts on using some other approach rather than standardized testing to determine who gets into honors classes?
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure how COVID is related to that, but I'll answer it anyway. I think standardized testing absolutely has its place. I mean, it is one of the ways to try to gather large amounts of data, and I work in an industry where data analysis is something that that I do in my job every day. That said, it does not paint the picture of the entire student, and it doesn't paint the picture of a whole student. And I think very often you do need to look beyond just the numbers that a child was able to achieve on a test on one particular day. So I would definitely be in favor of looking at other factors beyond just standardized testing for making that determination. Students' interest level, how well they do in coursework beyond just, a standardized test on a given day. And I do think that we should make those opportunities open to students beyond just looking at a singular test score.
Thank you. Kimberly Fay, same question.
As far as I'm aware, standardized tests are not the only factor that's taken into consideration when a student is placed into an accelerated class. I do believe classroom performance and overall grades are considered as well, which I think, to Chris's point, is maybe a better picture, or at least a more complete picture of a student's overall performance and capacity. The question about COVID, I think, I wonder if, and maybe this is speculating, I know there was some talk during the COVID era about some sort of remote learning academy and incorporating different learning modalities for students that benefited from the distance learning model that we were forced to implement during that time. I do have to say, and this forum is an example, tech issues cause a lot of problems, and in-person learning tends to be the best for building rapport, for confirming understanding of concepts. So that's not something I would want to implement in the long term.
Thank you. Corinne Bennett-Kill.
Yeah, over the course of the pandemic, there were many universities that dropped the ACT-SAT requirement for admissions. And I think that's probably where the underpinning of this question has come from, whether at an elementary and middle school level, whether the testing that we do is something that is necessary in making those decisions about advanced placement or enrichment classes. And I would say it is a portion. I think it is a portion. I think that just like Christopher and Kimberly said as well, that it is one portion of the whole child. And it is something that a standardized test may point the way towards, but the other aspects of the child's grades over time, their ability to work in the classroom, those things that are recognized by interactions with their teachers are really, should also be a large part of any of those decisions.
Thank you. And the final answer to this question is from Charmaine Grippo.
Well, standardized testing is a tool that you use to see what does a child learn, how much they have retained, and how are they able to answer the questions appropriately. So it is a good, like I said, tool. But there's other facets, of course, to a child and to a student. One thing about Lincoln, I was thinking back, Lincoln didn't have a building that was a big structure. Lincoln, meaning Abraham Lincoln, he studied in his own little one-room log cabin, I believe. If I'm incorrect, please tell me. But a building doesn't make this happen. The studies come into your mind and be learned. Doesn't come from a building.
Thank you. And this is the final question before we go to closing statements. And it's something that's kind of interesting, but obviously the audience was interested in it. And it's like, what do you see are the advantages and disadvantages of combining school district 57 and school district 26? And it will be answered first by Kimberly Fay. Kimberly, I think her screen has frozen. So if you don't mind, we'll go to Corinne Bennett-Kill to answer it, and hopefully we'll get Kimberly back.
Could you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yes. What do you see are the advantages and disadvantages of combining school district 57 and school district 26? And Kimberly is back, so we'll continue and have her go.
Yes.
No, she's off again. So if you could go, Corinne.
I'm here, just only audio.
Oh,
I apologize for
okay,
the
well,
trouble.
okay, if you could answer that, please, then.
Sure. I was just saying, doing that I think would help to resolve some of the issues that we've addressed in terms of the lack of commercial space, or rather lack of a commercial tax base for our district. But there are also disadvantages to that too. One of which would be redrawing boundaries for which students go to which schools, planning different bus routes, etc. I think, again, it would have to be the kind of decision that was motivated by the community. Definitely not something that any one board, whether it was the District 57 board or District 26, would really have the means to impose.
Okay, thank you. Corinne Bennett-Kill.
I agree with Kim in that it would address some of our financial difficulties. The constraints on our budget are real. And I know we've all said something about this, but they are real. One of the ways in which that could be addressed is by combining with another school district that has a larger tax base, particularly larger commercial tax base. One of the disadvantages of that, I think, would lose one of the things that makes District 57 so special. Our schools are embedded in our neighborhoods. They're nestled inside of our neighborhoods, and it makes the feeling and the proximity of community to education facilities so close and so tight. And it's also, I think, one of the reasons why we as a community have weathered so much of the last several years, the ups and downs, as well as we have, because we are in such close proximity, and it is us and our families working together. So I think that would be one of the things that would be lost were we to combine with another district.
Thank you. Charmaine Grippo.
Yeah, I think if the downtown area, this great metropolis that they've worked so hard at building up all these buildings by Nicholas, they're going to draw in so much business. We're not going to know what to do with all the money.
Okay, thank you. Christopher Leto.
Thank you. It's an interesting question. I would say, to the point that was just made, I wish that we could not have a TIF district defined with some of that new construction that is siphoning money away from District 57, unfortunately. To answer the question, if we could maybe redraw the boundaries just to include Randhurst area in District 57, maybe that'd be great. All kidding aside, I do think, as Kimberly and Corinne said, it would solve some of the financial headwinds that we have. But I'm frankly not in favor of solving that type of problem by having a negative impact on students. I think we always need to be student-centered. And I absolutely agree, having grown up in Mount Prospect, attended District 57, and having children in the district now, the sense of community we have in our schools and our community is really special. And I would hate to see anything interrupt that or harm that, even though it might have some potential financial benefits.
Thank you. We now, we're running a little late, but we're going to closing statements now. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. As agreed, we'll go in the reverse order of the opening statements. So that means that Charmaine Grippo will give her 2-minute closing statement first, followed by Corinne Bennett-Kill, Kimberly Fay, and then Christopher Leto. So Charmaine Grippo, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, thank you, Gilda, and the League of Women Voters and the library. It's been I've been learning so much by doing this. I mean, you guys are all, Chris and Corinne and Kim have been doing this for a while. They got this nice grouping together, which is great. But I'm learning so much about just stepping into something that I've never done before. And it's been a great learning experience, even going downtown and submitting petitions, going to Skokie. It's really growing me in a different way. I've got time, I have energy, and I really want to be fiscally sound. And a building does not put education into a child's mind. A book does. Reading, you get your books, you start reading, you put your phone down, and you stop texting, and you just have to practice reading, and you will get places.
Thank you. Corinne Bennett-Kill, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, to the Mount Prospect Public Library, and to you, Gilda, for providing us the space to talk about these important issues. I think that if there's one takeaway that the community can take from me in this forum, it's that I very much want to make this community or help this community grow into a really special place. We have particular challenges, but that allows us to come with particular creative solutions. During our Lincoln discussion on March 2nd over at Lincoln Middle School, one of the things that came from that discussion is that our solutions to problems that face our district, whether buildings or otherwise, are not going to be the solutions that other communities will find. They're going to be solutions based in our community and our values and what we determine as the best course of action to support our community and our learners. And that uniqueness, that ability to look creatively, is something that anybody who's working on a tight budget knows. You find ways to cut corners and to make things work. And sometimes that looks very differently from other school districts. So my family moved to Mount Prospect for the district's reputation for excellence. And in those years, I have experienced District 57's powerful mixture of compassion and courage and unbridled enthusiasm for educating our children. And I hope in the next 4 years to continue to cultivate that experience for all of our students and family.
Thank you. Kimberly Fay, you've got 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, thank you once again to the Mount Prospect Public Library and the League of Women Voters, and to Gilda, you as well, for hosting us tonight. I want to thank everybody that submitted questions. I appreciate you taking the time to really think through the issues that are particular to our district. It's so important that we, as candidates, and more importantly, as a community, have the opportunity to have these conversations. And so I'm really grateful for you all giving your time this evening. I started off 4 years ago as someone who's completely new to the board, completely new to public service. I didn't know anything about school budgeting or finance or anything like that. But over the past 4 years, I have learned quite a bit myself. I've seen the district make really great strides, come together during difficult times, and I've been really proud to be a part of that. I will say one thing that has disappointed me in my time as a school board member is how we seem to have fallen back to looking to other districts for guidance. I think sometimes collaboration can be helpful and important, but the one thing that I would like to contribute to if I'm elected to another term on the school board is positioning District 57 to be a leader among our neighboring communities. I would like to see us come out in front of other districts with new initiatives, new plans, new programs. I want to turn the tide such that other districts are looking to us and calling us for advice and asking us for information about how it is that we're doing so well, especially given some of the challenges that we face that we've already addressed. I really hope that all of you will turn out on April 4th or sooner, starting March 20th, to cast your vote. And I thank you again for your time.
Thank you. And our final closing statement is from Christopher Leto. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you again to the League of Women Voters, the Mount Prospect Public Library, to you, Gilda, for moderating, to everyone who submitted some really great, thoughtful questions tonight that really spurned some good discussions. And I also want to thank Kimberly, Corinne, and Charmaine for a robust discussion. This was great and a lot of fun, and hopefully useful to everybody watching. I believe that quality public education has never been more important. We are living in an ever more rapidly changing world, and it's critical that our children are growing up to become educated, engaged, informed, and thoughtful learners. And that starts with great public education. We're very fortunate to be living in a district that truly understands that mission and has been delivering that exact type of great quality public education for all these years. And we're equally lucky to be living in such a special community, Mount Prospect, that truly understands that importance and has always been dedicated to it. It's the reason why my parents moved my brother and I to Mount Prospect way back in 1988. It's the reason my wife and I moved back to Mount Prospect nearly 7 years ago with our 2 small children. It's the reason I'm sure many of you watching moved to Mount Prospect in the first place, or the reason why you stayed. It's really the reason why I felt the calling to serve the community in this important fashion. Being a member of the school board of the district that I grew up in and the schools that I attended has really been one of the true thrills of my life. I know that we have some significant challenges ahead of us in the next coming years. And I hope that tonight I've conveyed not only my passion for our district, but how I can leverage my leadership, financial, business, visionary skills that I've honed over my academic and professional career to really work to solve those challenges. I truly look forward to working with all of you to continue the well-deserved legacy of excellence that District 57 has. I hope I will have your support and your vote on April 4th or sooner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to all of the candidates. At this point, we've concluded the remarks. Remember, you can vote for 3 of these candidates beginning March 20th or on April 4th, Election Day. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Rosemary Heckard for some closing comments. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you to Gilda Carew for being our moderator. Please make sure to register to vote, make your plan to vote, and then make sure your voice is counted on April 4th. If you need information, you can check out our website at www.lwvah.org for voter registration information, mail-in vote information, secure Dropbox locations, as well as your early and day of polling locations. Please visit the website illinoisvoterguide.org. Again, that's illinoisvoterguide.org, where you will see
The
what
library closes at 9, right? Yeah.
where you will see what is on your ballot plus candidate responses to LWV questions. And for any of you looking to support this year's election to make sure it's safe, secure, and accessible for all, we have a link to the Cook County
Is somebody picking you up? Are you
website
driving?
Yeah.
You have a car with you? Oh, okay.
where you can sign up to
What-
be a poll worker. Again, check us out at www.lwvah.org and follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We even have accounts specifically for youth, and that's at student.lwvah, and our mascot, which is at Pause for Votes. We are grateful to all of you for joining us and to our candidates, Christopher Leto, Corinne Bennett-Kill, Kimberly Fay, and Charmaine Grippo, because our democracy relies on citizens like you who are willing to run for office. Thank you to our ASL interpreter, Stacy Shine Stapleton, and to all of the League volunteers who brought you this free program. Thank you to the Mount Prospect Public Library for hosting this forum, and a special thank you to Beth Corrigan-Bugan. The recording of this forum will be available on both the LWV-AH YouTube channel and the Mount Prospect Public Library. Have a great night.